Derp Nation, how's it going? It is I, Derpy Smiler here. This is day 3 of Appreciation Month, where I do 22 videos with people I hold close, or a group of people that I hold close in each video with different experiences. So today, we do have Adeline with us. So, you want to say anything?
Hey, everyone.
And just like the title says, we are talking about LGBTQ advocation. And Adeline is actually extremely big on this. So do you want to talk about maybe some personal experiences about what you've gone through in life that have brought you to this moment before we actually head into like what it is that you do?
Yeah, so a couple of different, little points that have, led to here, growing up in a very red state, very Christian-based family. And, not having that voice when I started out as a young trans woman. So, it kind of just led me to where I am now, being able to amplify my voice for different people, so that's the easiest way to put it. I mean, just not having a voice when I came out, and having pretty much no kind of resources or friends that I could turn to. I understand the bottom line struggle for a lot of younger people in the community. So I try to do what I can to amplify their voice.
Well, honestly, that's actually really amazing. I know we met back in 2019 off of You Now, and I asked you a lot of stuff about transitioning. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So, growing up, I guess we can ask it like this: growing up, while you're transitioning, how hard was that? Like, how often were you in and out of the hospital?
So, as the transitioning process, that is yet to, I haven't went undergo any surgeries yet, I guess is the way I can put it. So, what really growing up, what really bottom line was, I was in and out of, what a lot of people will call psych hospitals, because, nobody really wanted to honestly sit down and hear me out. So what they thought was, a behavioral problem, or, oh, well, this medicine will work. So honestly, I spent most of my childhood in and out of hospitals. I was never really home like that up until I was 16 when I got out of the last long stay hospital.
Got you. All right. So, you mentioned earlier that you never really had a voice growing up. You didn't really see much in the ways of someone having a voice for you. So I'm guessing that it's safe to say that that's what brought you into the Advocation. And
yeah, very much.
You do. So how about you explain a little bit more on that? Like, I understand growing up in what was it? What year were you born?
2000.
So yeah, growing up in the early 2000s, there weren't really a lot of gay characters. It would be like every once in a while there would be like a gay character, or there'd be a lesbian character, or so on and so forth. But growing up, I don't think I ever remember seeing a trans character. Do you have any show that you want to put in the spotlight that has shown something close or something to the exact of what you were looking for growing up?
I mean, I guess the one show that comes to mind is Glee. There was a character named Unique on one of the seasons of Glee, and I guess in a way, you could say they showed signs of being trans. They dressed, they presented as a female, okay, but
yeah.
they weren't necessarily a female. So to me, that was one of the biggest, like, oh my God, there's someone like me on TV. You know, honestly, growing up in, you know, early 2000s in the South, you don't have a lot of people just walking about being open and being proud. So, you know, watching Glee was like the highlight of my childhood, really.
All right, yeah, no, I can see that. I didn't really watch Glee growing up. I didn't really watch like Glee at all, but I do know that they do have a few characters that could be or are LGBTQ representation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one question that I literally just came up with is, what do you hope to gain, or what do you hope to... Actually, yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. What do you hope to gain through your advocating? Like, shit, that's the best way to put it.
Well, you know, that is a question that I ask myself on the daily, and I get asked a lot by a lot of people. And one thing that I tell everyone is this: if I can save one life, or I can present one voice for one person, whether it be, you know, a gay boy or, you know, whoever, if I can prevent them from feeling as if they have no voice, that they have no representation, then I've done my duty as an advocate for my community. So, you know, that is one thing that people forget about when they get into advocating, is what you're advocating for, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not in it for the limelight. I'm not in it for the popularity. I'm in it to be able to amplify the voices of those who feel like they have no voice, and those who are attacked on the daily, whether it be, you know, with legislation at the state level or the federal level, or whether it be, you know, bullying or mental health problems. You know, I advocate to battle that, because I know what it's like to deal with that and not have someone to lift me up and use their voice for me. So that is just one of the biggest things I hope to accomplish out of this.
I like that answer. That's actually really, really, really cool. Not only cool, but like pretty brave of you to do, because you're kind of like just throwing yourself out there, even knowing with all the uncertainties and all the pressure that gets built up, especially recently. You're still doing what you want to do, and you're still making sure that everyone in the community still can be heard, or at least doing your best to make sure that everyone can be heard. So I have to applaud you for that, and I give you credit where credit's due, because that takes a lot.
And I mean, and another thing I want to add, Derpy, is this: advocating is not for the weak, okay? I'm not telling anyone not to become an advocate, but when you advocate for something, whether it be LGBTQIA rights, whether it be, you know, gun lobbyists, or, you know, anti-gay, whatever, the backlash you're going to get from that can be scary, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone to let that limit them from doing it, but at the same time, understand that this is not a simple 9 to 5 where you go in, you work, you know, yeah, you might have gossip, you know. Ultimately, I've received death threats before. I've known people to, you know, be attacked because they advocate for something that is not, you know, agreeable with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So advocating can be dangerous and should be taken a little bit more with sincerity when you're doing it in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. It definitely does not look easy, because not only are you sticking up for something, but you have to make sure that you're sticking up for the principle of it, not only the principle, like the giant meaning and whatever comes your way, just to make sure that you're still standing tall by the end of it. And I think that last part, especially, just like you said, is pretty difficult, because whatever comes your way could be good or bad. It could be like the death threats, or it could be praise, whatever the case may be, but you still got to stand by your principle at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You know? So when it's all said and done, you still got to keep going, and you still know what you're doing. And in my eyes, if you make people mad with advocating for the LGBTQ community, in my eyes, it means you're doing right, because people aren't going to admit that you are right. You know?
That is a principle I live by. I tell a lot of people, you know you're doing something right when you have a lot of people pissed off at you and are hating on you, because they cannot fathom that you are doing something that is right.
Exactly.
And another thing that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about when it comes to advocating, but I'm open. You know, everybody has their own religion, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody's lifestyle that they decide to live fits with their religion.
Yeah.
And being an advocate for the LGBTQ community has truly, truly been a blessing, because as a Christian, you know, it is highly looked down upon to be gay or, you know, anything. And in all honesty, the amount of trauma that I have endured from churches has ultimately made me stand 10 times firmer on my bottom line principle of uplifting everyone and giving everyone a voice when they need it. And you know, that's the biggest thing a lot of people are shy to talk about is, you know, oh, well, you know, this advocate, you know, is a Christian, but they're also trans. The bottom line, it doesn't matter. You could be Muslim and be anti-whatever or for whatever. As long as you are able to advocate and have the principle of doing it for the right reasons, don't let other people stop you, because I've seen far too many advocates and you know, far too many people get discouraged because of things, because, you know, someone says it's not right because of their religion, or their family doesn't agree with it, or, you know, their community's so against it that they're outnumbered. You know, I'm a firm believer, if you're never outnumbered, because no matter what, you have an army behind you when you're advocating. You have people behind you that are looking up towards you to help them, but at the same time ready to go to war. And that is one thing that I have enjoyed, is just to be able to see the amount of people that can rally behind someone in a time of need.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it. I mean, you couldn't say it better myself, if I'm going to be honest with you. I am, first of all, I'm going to say I'm extremely proud of you, because out of the few years that I've known you, like, you have done what you could, especially with what life has given you, you know? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but you're still out here doing what you got to do. And again, credit where credit's due. Got to give you praise for that, you know, applause and everything, because God, I'll be honest with you, I advocate, but I advocate to a lower level because of all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm there. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, like, I believe in it. I'll talk about it and whatnot. But you go, like, above and beyond. And it's like, wow. I'm impressed. Like, I wish I could.
I appreciate it.
I wish I could, but I don't have the courage or the strength to do all that.
Well, one thing I could tell you, Derpy, is I used to think the same way that you are now. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had someone tell me that if you sit here and you say, I don't have the courage, you're never going to get anywhere. Okay. You have when you're advocating for something, it starts with looking at yourself, in the mirror and saying, I believe in this problem. This is an issue. I'm ready to go to war for it. I can do this. And I'm not going to say that there's not going to be days where honestly, I still do it. I sit here, I get so discouraged when I see so many, logs, or, I hear of another person, a part of the community a club getting shot up, or a member getting attacked. I get discouraged, and I'm like, I don't think I can do it anymore. But you have to be able to have that mindset, and it's in all of us. You just have to unlock it and have the knowledge of saying, you know what, yeah, it's hard, but if I'm not going to make a change, then who is? Change starts with us, and we have to be the ones to make the first step. Otherwise, nothing's going to be done.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I do my best, though, to make sure that my spots are a safe place for everybody, though. Like, that's never changing. And yeah. I'm extremely open about that, too. I'm like, listen, if you're, this, that, and the third, if you're gay, if you're trans, if you're lesbian, if you're ace, right? That's one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're ace, any of that, you're good here. Non-binary, all of that. So I'm like, I always make sure that people know that, like, hey, if you come here, you're fine. Like, nothing's gonna happen to you. And I guess that, in a way, coming out of a straight white man's mouth, that is probably the weirdest thing to people.
Well, I want this to say, race has nothing to do with it, okay? I've sat down and I've talked with a lot of people, from, Mexicans to blacks, whites to, people from overseas. A common denominator and a common bottom line that I've received is this. I mean, anything coming out of a straight cis person, whether it be, especially cisgender men, we are very skeptical to believe, because it statistics shows it. Most of the attacks on the community come from cisgender men that are heterosexual. So we're very skeptical to, believe what comes out of people's mouths. So we tend to take it with a grain of salt and brush it off. But also, hearing someone say, look, I don't care what you are, you're safe here, makes the biggest impact, especially on someone who is not able to come out to their parents because they're so scared and their parents are so against it that they're at risk of being homeless. I have had so many friends call me with, a kid who came out to them, but they're so scared to come out to their family because they don't want to be put out and they don't know what to do. So, just hearing the words of, you're safe with me, nothing's going to harm you, can make the biggest impact on a person's, life or their daily struggle.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Like, wow. It's nice to have a conversation like this with someone who, like, truly does come from the community and is doing something really big in order to try to push it forward. That even in a way, while we're talking, I feel like I'm getting educated in everything, which is actually quite a relief, because it just shows me that there is still more to learn.
Yeah.
And
trust me, I still learn every day. There's a lot of things that I, didn't know a week ago that I've learned. A year ago, I knew the basic LGBTQ, okay? Now, I've learned you got asexual, you have non-binary, you have ace, poly, pan-romantic. There is you got demi. There's a whole broad spectrum, and that's why it's called the LGBTQIA plus community. Yeah. But 2 years ago, it wasn't that, and so it's a learning process, and it's something you do day by day.
Yeah. No, I mean, even the term has like evolved. It was like LGBT, then it was LGBTQ plus, then it was LGBTQIA plus, and then it was nice to see that the term itself had also evolved along with like the rest of us, as we're trying to all figure out who we are, this, that, and the third. At least there's more ways to put it. And I think it makes more people feel safe knowing that there's more categories to put yourself in if you do not categorize with anything else.
Right.
So, I mean, there's that. So, honestly, I appreciate you taking like these last few couple of minutes out of your day to, teach me, not just teach me, but teach like the viewers about what you do and how important it could actually be.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and letting me do it. There is one thing I want to add before we part ways. This goes out to everybody in general, okay? If you encounter someone who is trans and you're in a public restroom, I can promise you, do not automatically scream and think they're going to try and molest you, because I promise we're not. We're more scared that you as a person are going to molest us or hurt us. So don't be afraid of us, but embrace us. Because I can promise you, as a trans woman who has gone to public restrooms, who has done both sides of the aisle, it is a scary thing to walk in there and think, oh my God, is someone going to try and say I molested them? And have to be scared of that and look over your shoulder every time. I can promise you we're not going to molest your kids. If anything, we're more likely to turn around and baby them and make them our kid of our own than we are to molest them. Don't assume because men have dressed up as cross-dressers in the past that a trans person is basically a cross-dresser that is trying to molest you or harm you or your kids, because we're not. There is a huge difference. And that is a big misconception within the community that comes from a lot of heterosexual people. And that is just a big thing that I try to, have everyone understand. We're different. We're not going to harm anybody. We're more afraid that we're going to be harmed than we are of us harming someone else.
There you go. There you guys have it. So if that's like the big takeaway from this, do not misinterpret other people just because of what you think you know. At the end of the day, we're all still people, so respect us as so, respect them as so, and other than that, you guys have a damn good one. Take care. Derp Nation, how's it going? It is I, Derpy Smiler here, coming at you with another video here for Appreciation Month. This is the 4th video in the series, and today I actually have another co-worker of mine, as well as an old high school friend of mine, Joseph. So Joseph, you want to say anything?
Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's me, Honest Life, by the way.
There were actually several adaptations of Lazy Tap before the one that we and in one of them, it was extremely creepy because even Stephanie was a puppet. Oh, so he was just
he was a Marine. Like, I do remember there was like something about like a sign, like, I don't remember too. I gotta replay the Doom games because I haven't played that for so long.